Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to talk about relationship of organisms with one another and with the environment. That is ecology. This is the second part of my lecture. In this lecture, we are going to understand the pyramid of biomass, pyramid of energy, and pyramid of number. Secondly, we will discuss and understand nitrogen cycle. Third point is that we will talk about effects of humans on ecosystem, effects of human activity on ecosystem. And as a part of this topic, the subtitle will be Eutrophication. It is also the human impact on ecosystem. So let's start. I'm going to talk about pyramid of biomass. Remember that pyramid of biomass or the pyramid of energy or pyramid of number, they are drawn for the food chains. So one of the food chain, for example, is grass, grasshoppers, frog and hawks. Remember that every food chain starts with a producer. The first trophic level of every food chain will be producers, will be the green plants, like in this case grass. So the grass is then eaten by grasshoppers, and then grasshoppers are hunted by frogs, and then frogs are eaten or hunted by hawks or eagles. So this is the food chain. Now consider that in per square kilometer, in 1 square kilometer, let's suppose we are considering per unit area or per square kilometer the number of grass or the biomass of the grass. Suppose the total weight or the biomass of the grass or the plants, grass plants which are growing in that area, in that in that 1 square kilometer area, maybe it is 50,000 kilogram. Suppose 50,000 kilograms. So I will write it here. It is 50,000 kilograms. So this one, 50,000 kilograms. And then this grass is eaten by grasshoppers. So there are many grasshoppers, suppose. And the total weight of those grasshoppers, maybe it is very less, but suppose it is 100 kg or 1000 kg, suppose 1000 kilogram. Now the biomass of the grasshoppers is reduced, and then the frogs which are eating the grasshoppers, their biomass is maybe only 50 kg, and the hawks, their biomass is only 10 kg. So did you observe that the pyramid of biomass is broader at the base, and then it is getting narrower and then narrower and then too much narrow. So the pyramid of biomass is always like this, broader at the base and getting narrower. Similarly, the pyramid of energy, it is also broader at the base and then narrow and then narrow and then narrow. However, in case of pyramid of numbers, the situation can be different. It can be like this. For example, if we are going to draw the pyramid of number for the same food chain, grass and grasshoppers and frog or hawks, so it will be also, its shape will be almost like this, broader and then narrow and then narrow and then narrow. But in some cases, the pyramid of number can be different. Remember that when you are asked to construct the pyramid of number, so draw it with care, because its shape can be different. Its shape can be like this, conventional or the traditional or the most common one, or it can be changed. For instance, in this example of food chain of oak tree and insects and woodpecker, the first trophic level of the this food chain is oak tree. once again it is a producer. Oak tree, a big tree, a large, it is a huge tree. And this one tree, now it is one tree, we are talking about the numbers. It is one tree, and the aphids and the jacids, the different insects, small insects which are living and depending on that tree, their number is 10,000. So now when I draw the number of one oak tree, so it will be small, it will be narrow. But when I will draw the uh, number of the insects, the number of insects in this pyramid, so it will be broad. So narrow and then broad. And the third level, which is the woodpecker. Now the insects, they are eaten by the woodpecker. So the number of woodpeckers, suppose they can be 5. Let's suppose 50 is too much. So all these are supposed values. So we can change or we can imagine. So they are 5. It means that 1, then 10,000, and then 5. So narrow, then broad, and then once again narrow. The pyramid of number can change. Its shape can vary. Now let's understand the nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen cycle is very important in an ecosystem. Here at this juncture and at this point of my lecture, let me remind you that the nutrients in an ecosystem, they move in a cyclic manner. The nutrients are recycled. However, the energy flows in the ecosystem in a non-cyclic manner. I repeat that the nutrients, they move in a cyclic manner, and the energy, it flows in a non-cyclic manner in the ecosystem. It means that once the energy is wasted in each trophic level in the form of respiration, in the form of heat, it never comes back. So the energy is trapped by the sun. The solar energy is trapped from the sun by the plants, and then it is shifted to next trophic level, and a lot of energy, a very huge amount of energy is wasted in the environment in each trophic level. It never comes back. However, the nutrients, the carbon or nitrogen or other nutrients, they keep on recycling. So let's understand the nitrogen cycle. As we know that in the atmosphere, the percentage of nitrogen is almost 78% in the air and 21% oxygen. Now, if this atmospheric nitrogen, if we are talking about it, so one of the method that how this nitrogen is fixed in the soil and it becomes a part of the plant, one method and one route is lightning. When the different clouds carrying the positive and negative charges, when they strike and they collide, so it produces lightning. A high voltage of light, a high voltage of electricity is produced in the atmosphere. And when this electricity, this electrical energy passes in the air, so it makes the two gases, nitrogen and oxygen, to react with each other. And when nitrogen and oxygen, they react with each other, they form oxides of nitrogen, for example NO or NO2. And when these oxides of nitrogen, along with rain, because along with lightning, raining is also taking place, so most of the time, so what happens, that this oxides of nitrogen, they get dissolved with rainwater. And when they get dissolved in rainwater, so then they form, and when they fall on the ground, they form nitrates, NO3 minus 1. And these nitrates are absorbed by the plants. And now this nitrogen becomes the part of plant body in the form of proteins. And when these proteins, the plant proteins or this plant is eaten by the herbivores or by the animals or by us, now this nitrogen becomes a part of our body or humans or animals body. Suppose this one. Now the nitrogen has shifted and is transferred from plants to animals. So in this way, and when these animals, they release their waste products, undigested food in the soil, so uh, or when these animals or humans, their dead bodies, when they die, so the decomposers act on them. So when these animals, they release their waste products, or when they die, so the decomposers, these are bacteria or fungi, they act on uh, the waste products or the dead bodies of these animals, and they convert them, these bacteria convert them into ammonium ions. And then ammonium ions are further by the process of, by the action of the nitrifying bacteria, they convert them into nitrates. So either the ammonium ions or the nitrate ions are once again absorbed by the plants, and in this way the nitrogen cycle repeats. Another pathway of fixing the nitrogen is that nitrogen fixing bacteria, they convert the atmospheric nitrogen into ammonia. Or another industrial process is ammonia Haber process, in which the nitrogen and hydrogen, it reacts together in the form, in the presence of a catalyst, and it forms ammonia. And now this ammonia, by nitrifying bacteria, by the action of nitrifying bacteria, is converted into nitrates, and now these nitrates are absorbed by the plants. However, there is a wasteful process as well, denitrification. There are certain bacteria in the nature which are denitrifying bacteria. They break down the nitrates, the useful nitrates, and they release it back into the air in the form of nitrogen. So this is also a part of nitrogen cycle. But overall, this was about the nitrogen cycle. Let's talk about effects of humans on ecosystem. Human activity on ecosystem is mostly, unfortunately, it is negative. We humans are destroying the nature. We humans and our human activity, it is destroying the ecosystem. How? By deforestation. Because the humans are cutting down the forest in uncontrolled way. So deforestation is taking place, cutting down of the trees. And due to the deforestation, the global warming is taking place. Climate change is taking place. Why? Because these are the forests, these are the trees which are absorbing carbon dioxide through the process of photosynthesis. These are the forests which are giving us oxygen, and they are cleaning the environment by absorbing carbon dioxide. But if we will cut down the trees, and if we will cut down the forest in an uncontrolled way, and we are doing it, so we are actually increasing the concentration of carbon dioxide in the air. And carbon dioxide is the greenhouse gas because it absorbs the sunlight, it absorbs the heat of the sun, but it does not let it to escape uh, into the space. So that's why the greenhouse effect is produced, because carbon dioxide is acting like a greenhouse. It is absorbing the light, it is absorbing the solar energy, it is absorbing the heat, but it is not releasing it back into the space. It is trapping the heat. That's why, due to increased concentration of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases like methane, so the global warming is taking place. So one of the cause of global warming is deforestation. And as a result of deforestation, as a result of cutting down of the trees, landsliding is taking place, because these were the trees who were covering the land. These were the trees who were protecting the land. When we cut down the trees, so definitely the land is uncovered. Now the landsliding and soil erosion will take place, and this is happening, and the change is taking place, and we are facing it. So, like nowadays, many developing countries, especially Pakistan, is facing this problem. We are facing the climate change. We are facing the global warming and floods and too much damages. This is all because of human impact on ecosystem. Eutrophication is the next impact of human activity on ecosystem. Let's understand it. What is eutrophication? That humans are using fertilizers, or especially nitrogen containing fertilizers and phosphorus containing fertilizers, nitrates and phosphates. We are using them excessively. So due to excessive use of fertilizers and due to use of detergents, nitrates and phosphates are being released in the water bodies. Due to increased nitrates and phosphates which are being released in the along with the irrigation water, because the farmers are using the fertilizers on farms. So these nitrates which are coming from the fertilizers, due to excessive use of fertilizers, nitrates and phosphates are being released in water bodies. These nitrates and phosphates, along with the irrigation water, they ultimately reach to the rivers and to the canals and to the lakes, to the water bodies. And now, what happens? That the overgrowth of producers, especially the algae, which are growing in water, in lakes, in ponds, so they overgrow and they cover the whole surface of the lake, and they cover the whole surface of water, of ponds and water bodies. And what happens? Now the sunlight is blocked by these algae. The sunlight is blocked and the sunlight does not reach to the underwater plants. Now what happens? That the underwater plants, they start dying and decomposition starts taking place. And the activity, microbial activity increase of the bacteria which are decomposers, or of the fungi, unicellular fungi, they start increasing. These bacteria and fungi which are decomposing the dead plants in water, they multiply in number and they use up most of the oxygen present in the water. So there is lack of oxygen in water, and due to the lack of oxygen or no oxygen in water, so death of other organism and aquatic life and fish, it takes place. And ultimately what happens? That the lake or that water body or that pond, it turns into a dead lake. No life exists anymore in that water body. This is called eutrophication. There is a need to take conservation and their conservatory measures. We need to protect our environment. We need to protect our ecosystem by conservation. So there is a need, as we talked about deforestation, now there is a need of the day that reforestation should take place. And we should plant more trees, and we should grow more forests to protect our environment and to prevent the climate change and to prevent the global warming. We need to grow trees on a large scale. Similarly, those species which are being hunted, those animal species, wild animal species, which are being hunted by in an uncontrolled way, we need to conserve them. We need to protect them. And we need to, similarly, fishing, it must be done in a controlled way. Overfishing, it should be prevented through laws and by the government. And there should be certain seasons in which the fish, they grow and they multiply and they reproduce. At that time the fishing should be banned. So we need to conserve our environment. In this way we will be able to protect our beautiful planet and our ecosystem. I hope you understood my lecture. Thank you very much.